welcome to the Orange Flag Podcast. There was some sports car news last week, but Auston was in Sebring for GT World Challenge America, which seems more interesting. I'm Nicole.
I'm Aries.
I'm Auston. And yes, I was in Sebring for GT World Challenge America, so we're just gonna cover all of that. There's a lot, so stick it out for the ride. First things first, I went this year, I also went last year. So comparing the 2 years, this year definitely had more food and more activations. Last year, we ran out of food literally before the weekend was over. So didn't have that issue to that extent this year, which was good. Unfortunately, though, we didn't have free EcoBoost like we did last year. Very sad, because I needed energy drinks, and there were no energy drinks. But yeah. Also, one booth only took Zell for food.
I don't even know how to, I have Zell. I do not know how to make a transaction using Zell.
So I went up to that booth because it was the only one with no line to get water. Because all the others had really long lines. So I went up to them and they're like, we only do Zell. And I was like, well, I don't have Zell, so never mind. It also was a fried donuts booth. Like, that was all they had. And it was so hot outside. I was like, the last thing I want is, like, freshly fried donuts. I was like, kind of a weird options. The mixture was like barbecue, donuts, smoothies. It was like...
So it wasn't the same... because if you go to Coda, generally Coda has majority the same food no matter what event you go to. So, the stupid personal pan pizzas. Those are there for WEC, they're there for Formula 1, they're there for GT World Challenge, they're there for NASCAR. Sebring's not like that?
So Sebring's not like that. The only thing that's consistent amongst Sebring is we have at least one of the, Sebring-owned stands that does, cheeseburgers, chicken tenders, and, breakfast.
Was that the one where we got the water from the coolers?
So, different. That one's closed, because that's only open during IMSA. They have, a much smaller one that they use for GT World Challenge. And that was the one last year that they ran out of food. And then the only other option they had last year was, very intense barbecue. And I was like, that's not what I want for race weekend food. This year, all they ran out of was burger toppings, which, okay.
Okay.
And then the water situation was very interesting. So, towards the end of Saturday, which, mind you, they still had stuff going on track on Sunday, they ran out of regular water and just had, canned water, and it was, much less water than bottled water, and you had to pay the same price.
Damn.
Yeah, I was upset.
Question. Was there any food at Sebring for GT World Challenge America that Lawrence Vantor would approve of?
There was a smoothie stall. So, maybe the frozen smoothies.
I mean, it's not like he actually supported or approved of our food choices at the IMSA race. I believe we got a message that said, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Yes, so I'm just gonna say the closest would be, the strawberry banana frozen drinks, and that's probably it. But in terms of activations this year, SRO brought sim rigs, which was cool. Yeah, that was nice. And then they had, we do. They also had friendship bracelet making, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I wear my PPM 6 one every day, so I was chill with that. But I was like, I feel like I haven't seen that before at a race weekend, so that was interesting. And just in terms overall, this year, they definitely like laid everything out better. So the car corral last year for Hyundai was in the middle of the food area, so there was like barely any seating. And this year they moved the car corral area, so it was not in the food area, so we had more seating, which makes more sense.
Aries, prepare your drinking game because I have an unrelated question.
Oh, here we go.
So, well, we were talking about friendship bracelets. So I said prior to Kevin getting announced full season for IMSA this year that I was going to keep wearing this bracelet until he was announced not in car 6. When his inevitable WEC announcement comes out, does that qualify as being announced not being in car 6?
Well,
I feel like it's complicated. I would say...
Or do I wait until... I mean, I assume he's still going to be partial season in the 6 next year in IMSA. Do I wait until he's announced as, like, not being in the 6 at all anymore?
I feel like
Or is it, like, not in the 6 a bit?
The rule book's a bit open to interpretation there. There's a loophole in there somewhere.
There's loopholes, and you have to use, like, do you use the same, like, merit the guys do when it comes to championships, where they're like, if I'm not the full-time guy and the car wins the championship, I didn't really win the championship. So, like, do you use...
That was Kevin's stance on car 6 last year, was he just helped out.
Yeah, so, like, do we use that logic?
I don't know. I mean,
that's where I'm like, that's the two ways you could look at it.
I don't think he's going to have made this announcement before Detroit, so I'm not going to be able to ask him. I'll ask Larry's opinion, because Larry has made an announcement, so yes. We can figure out Larry's opinion on this. Yes, but that just the friendship bracelet thing made me think of that, because, you know, I kind of said that in jest before he ever got announced full season IMSA, but after we knew that the WEC program was gone, I was like, I'm gonna keep wearing this until they say Kevin's not in car 6.
Yep. So, have to wait it out, see what the ruling is.
Exactly.
Yes. And then next to all the activations and stuff was merch. We love merch. Merch this year, there was definitely more merch. I will say, disappointingly, the 32, which is Tom Sargent's car, the merch was only ladies or toddlers.
They sold out of all the normal shirts?
Yeah.
Well, that's just because they're the most popular team, probably.
Definitely, but I was very disappointed.
And they don't have, like, IMSA-level merch production like Random Vandals does, because Random Vandals is probably more popular, but
I will say the most
IMSA-level merch production.
The most merch I saw this weekend was Sparkle Farts. A lot of kids had Sparkle Farts stuff.
As they should. I'm not a kid, and I want some Sparkle Farts merch. Like, I want to.
Yeah, they didn't. I will say they didn't have any Sparkle Farts merch. Very disappointing.
Oh.
So there were no Sparkle Farts shirts, and I was like, I would be down with the Sparkle Farts shirt.
Yeah.
But they did have other shirts, which the like standard GT World Challenge shirt for this year is Zach Venier's car. So you know, obviously had to get that.
Yeah.
Because that's my boy. But then Sebring's standalone shirt was right. Which nice. Whereas like last year,
you like them.
Yes, I do like them. Last year it was like teams I didn't support. I still got it, but like it's definitely cooler this year to have like teams you actually support on the shirt. And also like it's actually colors this year. Like last year was just white.
The Coda shirt, actually my Coda shirt's right over there. I can grab it. I just wore it the other day, so it was right on the top of my laundry. It kind of was awful. Like, it's a really cool picture. That's not great merch, you know?
Yeah, so like, ours was like...
it has every car on it, but it is so hard to see the cars.
Yeah, so ours last year was kind of similar to, like, how this year's is.
Yeah.
But, like, just different cars. And it just wasn't cars that I supported last year. So, like, we don't get like every car on our shirts. It's like one of the options they have is a shirt like that, but I wanted like the race specific one.
Yeah, this one was cool because like it has, and I don't know, maybe this was the whole season shirt or something, but like that's Coda. The Paul Ricard looking stuff is Coda. So like maybe the full season shirt was Coda and I just didn't know that because I was at Coda. And I assumed it was the Coda shirt, cause why would my track be on the full season shirt? I don't know.
Yeah. I will say Coda is usually where they take like the giant group photos.
Yeah.
So like it would make sense to use those photos for like the full grid shirt and everything. So
yeah,
would make sense.
Maybe
I feel like Coda's...
it's GT World Challenge America. Coda has the stars and stripes.
yeah, it does. Coda's gonna be upset with me for calling it the Paul Ricard looking stuff.
Yeah, probably.
It's a great description, is it not?
It is. I will say I got another shirt, but I realize now I did not take the stickers off. It's just a Wright IMSA shirt, but I hadn't seen this one before, so I was like, I will get Tom's IMSA car.
I swear, Wright has a different shirt in the merch tent every race I go to, and then I also see people walking around with Wright shirts on, like fans, so not like crew members with like sneaky crew shirts. Fans walking around with Wright shirts that I've never seen before in my life. Adam, you have fantastic marketing for your team. However, I would like to be able to partake in said fantastic marketing. Make the shirts easier for me to find, buddy.
Yeah. No, I like hadn't seen this one before. I know this year Wright for IMSA is doing like a specific shirt for every race, it seems like.
It does seem like that.
But I hadn't seen this one. And I was like, this one's a cool design. And my like normal Wright shirt I have, the design is on the back, which for races, it's covered by my backpack. So this was like a good one for race weekend since the graphics on the front. Which is the only downside of the GT challenge, GT World Challenge shirts is they're on the back, like the graphics are on the back, unfortunately.
Just cut the collar and wear it backwards.
Yeah. Everyone's like, why is that graphic on his back just like in the corner?
Tiny! Yeah.
It's a fashion statement. Don't question
exactly.
it. Yes. And then garages. I don't know who did the garages setup this year for GT World Challenge, but I would like to thank whoever did the garage setup, because all my teams were right next to each other, which was very convenient. And they were like right at one of the entrances too, so it just made it very easy. Because it was literally GMG, so it was Tom, then it was Zach Venier, then it was Sparkle Farts, which everyone likes Sparkle Farts, and then it was Kelly Moss, so it was Loke and Colin. So I was like, chill. I can just stay in this tiny little section, and then when I want to go to right, I'll walk down to right and come back. But it was great. I don't know what Kelly Moss's whole catering setup was, but compared to every other team, just like, so Kelly Moss had like half their garage on like one side, but not with any, like with not their GT World Challenge America cars, but their other cars. Then they had like catering, and then they had their GT World Challenge America cars on the other side. And their like whole catering setup had like all the fancy like silverware and everything. I was like, what is going on in this Kelly Moss catering setup? And they had like a whole like big drinks fridge, which I can confirm Loke was taller than, which he was just standing there for a while. And I was like, Yeah, this really puts into perspective just how tall you are. He had to, like, duck to go into any tent.
Yeah. He's really tall.
He's
That doesn't
gigantic.
surprise me at all.
No, it doesn't. But it's one of those things where you see him for the first time, you're like, oh yeah, you are tall.
Mm-hmm.
More like, oh yeah, you are tall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because last year he didn't do Sebring because, you know, Loke was doing his many a series, and one of his other series was at the time Sebring was, so he wasn't at Sebring. So this was actually my first time ever seeing Loke in person.
Yeah.
So it was my first, like, oh, yeah, you are tall.
He is startlingly tall.
Yeah. And, like, the first time I saw him was, like, him ducking under the tent to, like, get into catering, of course. So I was like,
nice.
That, like, put it into more perspective, too. So, just those things that you don't realize. Like, Yardley. Yardley is tiny, and I always forget that he is short.
Yeah, Yardley's tiny. Like,
until I see him. Because I've seen him before, but every time I see him, I'll be like, oh yeah, you are short.
Yeah, he's, like, small for a racing driver.
Yeah, he's, like, one of those where I always think he's, like, taller than he is for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, you are tiny. It's always like a wake-up call adjustment. There's nothing wrong with being short. I am short, so it's fine. And then when it came to the pits, when it comes to GT World Challenge America, everyone really just has, like, if you were a soccer mom, you just put a tent up and that's your, like, setup to watch your kid play soccer. That's, like, the vibes of the pits, except for Wright. Wright, like, had, like, a full, like, IMSA setup. And I was like, this checks out.
It probably is their IMSA setup.
I know. Which is why I was like,
honestly, they probably just bring their IMSA setup.
Yeah.
Because
I was like,
why not?
Yeah, why not? But I was literally looking at everyone's and I was like, Wright would be the one team to not have just the tents. The, like, most janky setup was GMG. They had it when I, like, walked past, they hadn't even put, like, their number out yet to, like, indicate their pit stall, and I was like, well, you're just playing guessing games, I guess. It's fine. They won, okay. So it worked out. But, yes. And now, we like talking about drivers and their golf cart skills.
That's dangerous.
And I observed a lot of drivers and golf cart skills this weekend.
Was anybody worse than Kevin at Sebring from March?
Therese Lalu could possibly be.
Okay.
So she was backing.
So we need to get her and Kevin to do, because, you know, she sometimes does content for Porsche Motorsport North America. We need to get them to do golf cart content.
Yeah.
TPM, Porsche Motorsport NA, listen to me. Golf cart content.
Yes, golf cart content. She was, like, backing up the golf cart into Wright and, like, almost hit the side of the tent. And she was talking to the team across the way, and she was like, I can't drive this golf cart. And whoever it was from the team across the way was like, yeah, it's because it's not a Porsche. You can only drive Porsches.
Fair.
And I was like, fair. But she was struggling. And so the whole time I was like, this is giving Kevin at Sebring trying to drive the golf cart. Vibes.
I have never seen a professional racing driver stall a golf cart other than Kevin.
Yeah.
So
I guess this was more giving Matt when he hit a building at Daytona. Trying to back up the golf cart. Actually, it does give Matt trying to drive the golf cart at Daytona and hitting stuff. Maybe Porsche drivers just don't do well unless they're Larry. with golf carts.
Yes.
Spartacus
Larry
stuff,
seemed
maybe.
to be decent.
Yeah, Larry, from what we've noticed, is pretty decent at golf cart skills, but everyone else hasn't seemed to be that decent. I couldn't judge Tom because Tom is just a passenger princess. He doesn't drive the golf cart. He just gets driven around. So we can't judge his golf cart skills, unfortunately.
Maybe you need to be a certain age to have a golf cart license. Maybe Tom does not have his golf cart license from Porsche.
Maybe.
Have you ever seen Lauren or Julian drive a golf cart? No. So, maybe Porsche doesn't let the youths drive golf carts.
See, at first I thought you meant just golf carts in general, and I was like, I was definitely driving a golf cart at work.
No,
at their age.
I mean, Porsche does not let people who drive Porsche race cars drive golf carts if they're under a certain age.
Maybe.
This is my new conspiracy theory.
I don't know how we want to classify Colin, because Colin drives, an Acura in IMSA, but he drove a Porsche here, so like...
Yes, but he's old enough to drive a golf cart.
Yeah, but I can review Colin, so I'm like, do we throw him into the Porsche drivers category or not? Because he does technically drive a Porsche.
I think he's an Acura driver.
But he's an Acura driver.
I don't know that I've ever seen him drive a golf cart at IMSA, though.
I haven't, but I saw him this weekend, and he was on carpool duty.
Nice.
He was just picking up random drivers, and they weren't even, like, his teammates. Like, he was picking up Mercedes drivers at, like, the end of the pit lane. Like, at the end of the garages, and driving them to their garages. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. And then other teams were also all carpooling, because Zach was carpooling with another team too. So there was just a lot of carpooling going on.
Nice.
I also don't know what Random Vandal's situation is with golf cart, because their golf cart isn't a golf cart. So I posted a photo of it, so you can go to my Twitter and you'll see a photo of it. But it's not a golf cart, so I don't really know what their situation is for picking people up.
Nice.
Oh, but hands down, best golf cart, Sparkle Farts. Okay? They wrapped the golf cart to be the same sparkly pink as the car.
That's awesome.
Yes. Okay? But then the wheels on the, middle, the little, round part in the middle, they put unicorn stickers on them.
Yeah, that's a winner
fantastic.
in my books.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah. So, hands down, best golf cart award goes to them. I, had to take a photo of it. I was like, this is the golf cart. No one can top it.
Chip Ganassi IndyCar level golf cart.
Yeah, and this golf cart had tricked out in the back cup holders and everything, and I was like, this is the fancy golf cart.
Yes.
We put actual money into this golf cart. So I will say all the right golf carts had stickers on them that matched the liveries of the car, which was cool, but it wasn't as tricked out as Sparkle Farts to be as exact as the car. So, they need to one up a little bit, more than just a little rectangle sticker. Get on the Sparkle Farts level, and then I can maybe put you in conversation for best golf cart. But yes, after that was the autograph session. So this year I only went for the weekend on Saturday, because literally basically everything was on Saturday. The only thing that wasn't on Saturday for GT World Challenge America was the first practice. Everything else was on Saturday, including all the autograph sessions. So they had one session that was for GT4, and then the other session was for literally every other series that was there that weekend. And that's because GT4 was racing at the time of that session. So they had their own little separate one. So I went to the big autograph session, And it was inside, like, this gallery of legends, which is where at Sebring they normally keep, like, old cars to show, but it's empty and they just have, like, tables. And I was, like, confused thinking, oh, they've delayed the autograph session, because last year, and apparently every year before that, because I talked to, like, some other fans who were there who've been there, like, multiple years before that, they've always done it to where the line forms outside, and then you go to the right in the building, go, like, in a circle, so then you come out the doors. Mm-hmm. This year they redid it, and the line was inside. You started on the left and then went to the right. So, like, if you were going in and out, like, if people were coming into the door, they were, like, walking into the middle of the line. So it wasn't, like, as well organized as it's apparently been in the past. I do think part of that was it was way hotter this year than it's been in the past, so they wanted to keep everyone inside. But it was one of those things where, like, because I didn't see a line forming outside like I did last year, I was like, oh, they must have just delayed it. Until I was like, okay, it's been a little bit of time, I'm just gonna go check, and, like, saw the line was inside. So there was also just, like, not a lot of signage or anything telling you there was an autograph session either. So, like, if you didn't know from, like, a post online that it was happening, you wouldn't have known that there was an autograph session happening.
That's how it was at Coda last year. No one knew where it was. Like, I finally tracked down a driver and was like, hey, you know, I know the autograph session's at 10:45 or whatever. Where is it? It was like, oh, you know, they told us it's over where the food is. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I at least have, like, a general idea of where to go to, like, look for an autograph session to be set up. Because I was like, is it going to be at the garages? Is it going to be in the media center? Like, there were so many places it could have been. So would have been nice to see them, you know, improve that from last year to this year. But
yeah. Especially because, like, on the website online, when you, like, went to look for the times for everything for the day, it, like, said autograph session, but it didn't say where it was. So, yeah. Like, there's definitely, like, on the series side, like, things that could be done to communicate better, like, where things are throughout the weekend. Because, like, there wasn't even a map to be like, food is here, and, like, things like that either. So,
yeah.
Definitely just, like, ways things could be improved. For this weekend, I had my Vegemite shirt that I wore for Sebring for the 12 hours on again, because Tom was racing and he's Australian, so I had to wear the Vegemite shirt, which led to some random Hyundai driver who I don't know who he was. He was in one of, like, the support series. He was like, my friend just tried Vegemite for the first time. I was like, okay. And he's just, like, talking to me about Vegemite. And I was like, okay, this is very random. And then we just got into the proper ways of eating Vegemite. So apparently I am just a Vegemite enabler,
yes,
doing Vegemite propaganda. I don't know how this happened. But alas, I've been given this title, apparently. This is also the same guy who saw my PPM bracelet and was like, nice bracelet. And I was like, thank you. It was very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And then, so last year when I went to G2 World Challenge, I was talking to Riley Dickinson about Sonic versus Dairy Queen for ice cream. And became a very big debate. Okay, it got very heated. So for this weekend, when I got to Riley, I was like, Riley, have you gotten Sonic yet? He was like, not this weekend. I was like, well, you need to go get Sonic. And he was like, why do I need to go get Sonic? And I was like, well, last year we talked about Sonic and how it's the only acceptable form of ice cream. And he was like, I am surprised you remembered that. And then he turned to his, like, teammate and he was like, telling him everything about last year and how we all got into this very heated debate about ice cream. And his teammate was like, like, very confused. And so then Riley found me later in the paddock. And he was like, I will go to Sonic later, don't worry. So the Sonic discussions have continued.
Nice.
And it still stands that Riley believes Sonic is better than Dairy Queen. So, at first he said he was only going to get Sonic if he ended up on the podium. That didn't happen. But then in the paddock, he said he was going to get it anyways. So I don't know if Riley got Sonic or not. Maybe. Unclear of the if he met the requirements or not, on if he changed them or not. So, and then Loke was before Riley. And so when I got to Loke, I was like, congrats on 2 cars for Nürburgring. I was like, that was definitely a surprising announcement that you were in 2 cars. And he was like, I was surprised too. It's like, they put me in 2 group chats, and I thought it was a joke. He thought it was a mistake by the team.
It doesn't make a ton of sense, honestly. Like, it is not, in my opinion, a good idea at all. But, you know, I'm not Porsche. Porsche know what they're doing.
Also, this team is a team that's really there to be testing tires in the sense that they're the Pirelli team, and so they're really just testing the Pirellis. They don't really expect this team to do anything. The same thing last year. They didn't expect them to do anything, and they got a podium. So, you know, I think it's kind of just one of those cases of, like, they're like, we don't expect this team to do anything anyways, so just chuck some guys into 2 cars.
Maybe that's the key. Just go in with no expectations. Boom, you get a good result.
Right?
Hey, maybe.
Comes easier.
So, ask Dynamic.
Yeah.
They have the information if you want it. But yes, I was like, I have to talk about Nürburgring. And then we got into a whole discussion about Nürburgring. I could, like, the people who were around me in line, you could tell were, like, just very casual fans. So they were like, they didn't know anything about what we were really talking about. And I was like, this is important information. And, like, his teammate was even, like, getting into the conversation too. Everyone was very excited about Loke and his Nürburgring adventures on his team. So everyone wanted to be involved in the conversation. Except for Colin. Colin just was, like, awkwardly in between, like, Riley and Loke. So when I was talking to 2 of them, Colin was just, like, sitting there, and I was like, Colin, I already see you enough with how many IMSA races I go to, okay? And then I got to Zach, who said hi to me before I said hi to him. And the lady next to me in line was definitely very confused. Because, like, we were, like, not even to him yet, and, like, he yelled down the line hi. So she was like, I was like, don't ask. And the first thing when I got up there was he looked at my Whoop band, because I have my Whoop on, which it's the new white one with, like, a bunch of rainbow speckles in it. And he was like, we have the same Whoop band.
I love how excited drivers get when normal people have Whoop, because I probably have, like, 1 driver a weekend at IMSA mention the fact that I have Whoop. So it's like, it's just kind of hilarious.
Yeah, normally me and Tom, when I see him at IMSA races, that's, like, what we talk about, is, like, Whoop scores. And he's always disappointed in me because I'm usually in the red because I don't sleep during race weekends. That wasn't the case this weekend, though. But yes, we were basically comparing.
Hard when you're camping.
Exactly. If you're Callum Ilott, though, you just think everyone's drinking, apparently. Because that was his excuse at Daytona for why I was in the red, was I was drinking a lot. And I was like, I haven't had alcohol yet, Callum, but okay. Also, Zach might have taken lessons from Kevin in conversation topics, because we did talk about the weather.
Nice.
Yes. Mainly that it was hot. And then he was like, it's honestly worse for you guys as like fans who are out in it all day than for us. And I was like, yeah. And then Aries, you would be proud of this talking point. We talked about airports.
Here we go. That is so random, but props to him.
That is incredibly random.
Well, we were talking about traffic getting to and from the racetrack, which ended up in airports somehow. And which airports to fly in and out of. And I was like, don't fly in and out of Orlando. And then we got into the Tampa airport and how the Tampa airport is the best airport. And I was like, yes, because it's small, and he agreed. And then I was like, but all the IMSA drivers fly out of Miami. He was like,
I think they do that so they can spend time in Miami.
Yes.
I think that's tourist related, not like anything logical related.
I think so. Zach's was like, that makes no sense. And I was like, correct. But yes, as we were talking about airports, in the back of my head, I was like, Aries would really like this conversation.
Always there with the random topics.
Yeah. But I was just like, next we're going to start talking about airplanes, and then Aries would be really into this conversation. We did not get to airplanes, though, Aries, so.
So close.
So close. We got to airports, but not specific enough. We let you down, and I'm sorry. And then when I was talking to Therese, Alu, she pointed out my Vegemite shirt, and she was like, you definitely have a lot of drivers to support this weekend. And I was like, yeah, it's mainly for Tom, which then just turned into her roasting Tom. Because she does content when he does
a lot of content for Tom.
So it just turned into roasting Tom. Which I love conversations with people where it's just roasting my drivers. So it was great.
Don't roast your driver with another driver, though. That ends up really awkward when the other driver tells your driver how you're roasting your driver.
You could do, or you do what I do. When Matt and Jam were teammates, we just roasted the other one right in front of the other one, so it worked out. Jam was actively involved in the roasting of himself, and then Matt was actively involved in the roasting of himself. Worked out. There's loopholes, you know? You gotta use the loopholes when you can. And then the grid walk. All I'm gonna say is it was very unorganized this year compared to last year. Last year was so well organized, like it was very similar to how IMSA does it. Where you're able to leave from where you entered, and like very well organized and everything. This was not well organized. It started late and it ended early. It was like only 10 minutes long because of the like time they let us in by the time they let us, and then kicking us out early.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't enter, like we couldn't exit from where we entered. We had to exit through one staircase that they put over the pits. So it was like a swarm of like 100 people at least, right? And
so it wasn't just through the normal like flat entrances out onto the track. It was
no. They made us go over a like staircase where it's like one of those ones that you like shimmy in to like put over something.
Yeah.
And like
that's weird.
Climb over the pits and then like go out the tunnel of the pits. And that was like how they had us go out instead of like just like going in through how you came, like going out how you came in, or like just keep going down the line and then the exit at the very end, which is what they did for IMSA and how they did it last year. So it was just like very easy to get in and out. Whereas this year was also very confusing because the staff wasn't on the same page either. So, like, we had one staff member telling us, oh, just keep going down to the end, like, you can get out at the end. And then we started walking down to the end, and these other people were like, no, you can only go over the staircase, and, like, getting us back to the staircase, while the other guy who's at the staircase is telling us we had to go down to the end. So, like, there wasn't consistent communication on how we were supposed to get out, which just made it chaos. So it was a lot of, like, it just wasn't well organized at all. And also last year for the grid walk, most of the drivers were, like, there, and, like, the teams were, like, handing out stickers or, like, things like that. Like, there was active interaction with the teams, with the fans, and with drivers and fans. For this year, there was none of that. Like, the only driver I saw actively out on the grid was Loke. And that's because he was starting, like, he was, like, with the mechanics trying to figure out something on the car. So, like, they were actively working on something, and he was, like, helping them with that.
I wonder if it's because of the heat, though, because if it was close to 100 degrees, like, they're not going to want to be... If it was supposed to be a half hour long, right? Like, I know you said it was only 10 minutes, but if it was supposed to be a half hour long, they may not want to be standing out there baking for half an hour.
I think also another issue was you have guys, especially the AM drivers, who are doing GT America,
and
GT America's podium was still going on when the grid walk was going on.
Oh.
So a lot of those guys... Yeah, a lot of those guys were still doing GT America stuff. And some of those guys, their pro drivers are their driver coaches in GT America. So they're with them for that. So, like, a lot of the drivers weren't there either, I feel like, because they were still actively doing GT America stuff. Like, I saw Zach, but Zach was behind the pit wall. So, like, I was able to, like, give him a good luck before he went, and then I saw Loke. A lot of the other guys I feel like that I saw, like, coming at the very end were the GT America guys, and it was, like, the podium situation of, like, they literally had to get back to their teams and, like, grab their stuff and everything and go straight back. So another instance of where, like, the new format with everything pretty much being on one day so close together for everything, like, you had things like that where people are just kind of running all over the place. Like, I didn't see Tom really at all during the day because he was just constantly running back and forth having to do GT America stuff and GT World Challenge America stuff. They, like, even interviewed him on the broadcast for, like, GT World Challenge content about, like, having to juggle everything because it was so much stuff in one day, and, like, how they were handling Kyle's day of basically having him do bare minimum until the actual races because it was so hot and so many things in one day between two series that, like, they didn't want to, like, have him overheated doing way too much until the race itself. So, like, things you, like, with this new format, thinking of those drivers who are doing two programs, like, it's a lot for them to be doing in one day, and they're just bouncing back and forth, and, like, so much of it is back to back to back to back, so there's not, like, a lot of break in between either.
Which is great for the fans, but I guess you don't think about how it impacts the drivers, really.
Yeah. And kind of a similar thing with, like, the autograph sessions. You had, like, the GT4 one and then the other one. If there's guys that were doing both, they couldn't really be at either autograph session because you had sessions going on for those series during the autograph session. So there were just, like, instances like that too, where, like, if you have any guy doing multiple series, like they're just running back and forth and they couldn't really do a lot of like the fan stuff because of that aspect of it versus last year. Like last year, Kyle was out and about everywhere, like handing out stickers to fans and everything. And he only was able to do that at the very end of the race at 8 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of the race, Tom was giving me anxiety with how much this man was in the dirt and his fight with Yardley. It was just, they were constantly on and off the track to where at one point, I don't know when, the like front bumper became detached on Tom's car, and Tom's way of fixing that and getting it reattached was driving through the dirt onto like the very bumpy part of the track, and then it just, you know, popped back into place. Which, like, I guess works out.
Yeah.
But, like, can we not be in the dirt constantly? And then at the end, I heard him, like, at the end of the race talking with, like, the team, and he was like, guys, I need, like, new tires at the end. And I'm like, Tom, even if they gave you new tires at the end, you were in the dirt.
Yeah.
New tires wouldn't have done much for you. Like, buddy. But, yes. The team also, like, looked at the car and was like, Tom, you did a lot of damage to this thing. And he's like, well, I won, so... It's like, I guess, you know, you can use that argument. You did win the race. So, but yeah, Tom won Pro-Am. I was able to fist bump him at the end of the race right when he got out of the car, which was nice. That's the one, like, cool thing about Sebring's setup for GT World Challenge America is all of the, like, first, second, third place cars for the different classes drive to the back of the podium, and the drivers get out there. So you're able to, like, and, like, there's nothing stopping you from being right at the car. So, like, you are able to get, like, photos of the guys and everything right as they're getting out of the car, and, like, really good photos of the cars, but also able to interact with the guys, like, right after they win or podium, which was really cool. And, like, you get to see all their interviews, like, right there and everything, which is nice and definitely very different than the 12 hours. Only, like, similarity is Turner, they won the pro class. They drove through to the podium just like the 7 team did for the 12 hours. So that's, like, a similarity. And this year they even added in, like, the fireworks at the back of the podium going off and everything too. So they had that, which was nice to see, like, them kind of upping things a little bit. I do put some of that into the fact it's a new format, so there's only one race, so there's one podium for GT World Challenge, so you're not, like, having to stretch everything across 2 podiums like you used to.
So, obviously, I didn't go to the Coda round because it was smack in the middle of, like, the one weekend I had off between Long Beach and Laguna. Do you think that the new single race, like, I don't want to call it endurance because it's still a pretty short race, it's a 3-hour race, but, like, the more endurance-based way of doing it is better, worse? Like, the racing's obviously better.
The racing is better.
Is it better experience?
I think I liked, like, the way of qualifying, and the race was definitely, I think, more interesting having it be longer, and so you just had more time for, like, actual fights out on track. Yeah. So, like,
and, like,
you
real
had
strategy.
Yeah, and there was more strategy into it. Like, for example, a lot of teams did, like, our AM driver, he does his max time than our pro driver. Or other teams, like the pro teams did, like, first driver, second driver. Zach, for example, started the race, then his teammate got in, and then Zach finished the race. So, like, there was even, like, differences in strategy of how many driver changes they were doing and things like that. So compared to like when we had the 2-race strategy where you really couldn't do much with that playing around because of how short the time was. So I think there was definitely more strategy going into it. I will say when it came to the weekend, if I'm talking numbers turnout wise, if I thought the new format drew more people in, I felt like there were less people this year. I do, however, more attribute that to it was way hotter this year than last year. And I do just think part of that was people not wanting to be out in the heat at Sebring where there's no shade. So I wouldn't really look at the numbers much this year if they are down as like the new format isn't working. I'd look at it more as it was so hot, maybe we need to do something about shade or something.
And you're guaranteed a long day with the new format. Like,
exactly.
There's no, okay, well, the race is short, we can leave right after the race kind of thing. Get there right before the race, leave right after. Like, the race is 3 hours long. You're stuck there for quite some time in a pretty hot time of the day, because it was from 5 to 8, right?
Yeah, and so I got there like around 8 a.m. and then I was there till almost 9 p.m. And so like it was so hot, and there were times where I was just like, I need AC. I'm gonna go sit in my car for a little bit to like cool down.
I mean, we did that at the 12-hour.
Yeah, it was just like so hot out that I was like, I just need to sit back for a bit and like blast the AC. Because it's not like there's the only place with AC at the track really was the like Gallery of Legends, and there was like very few seats in there, so I'm not gonna just like go sit in there. I was just gonna go sit in my car and cool off. So it was one of those things where like I was talking to people and a lot of us were like, yeah, it definitely feels like there's less people here. But we all kind of were like, I don't think that's a new format situation. And a lot of us were like, we like the new format. A lot of people were like, this is a really good format because we get a lot in one day. A lot of people I talked to were there in their RVs camping out the whole weekend, but they all were like, if you lived nearby, like you literally could just come for Saturday and like just do that, which is what I did. I just came for Saturday and just did that because I really wasn't missing much by doing one day. So like there are pros and cons to the new format in the sense that from the fan side, you're getting a full day, but it's also you're out in the heat for a full day. Yeah. So you got to look at it from that. Also, this year we had more support series than we had last year. So there was a lot less gaps in the schedule.
That's good.
This year than last year. There was like a 2-hour gap, I think, and that was really like the only gap during the day. Besides that, it was like pretty much packed the entire day, and that 2-hour gap was like the I'm gonna go get food gap.
Yeah, the like lunch break for the teams kind of time.
Yeah, so like definitely very like packed weekend. And it was a good experience overall, especially because they added more to it. Like, even at the end of the race, we did, like, Sebring 12-hour style of, like, a whole fireworks show at the end, too, which, like, we didn't have last year. So, like, they're definitely trying to make it more of an experience as well and, like, elevating the fan experience. I do think, you know, obviously there's work to be done, but it's a brand new format, so I feel like no matter what, when you have a new format, there's always kinks that you're going to be figuring out as you go along. But overall, I feel like it was a way better experience having everything on one day than separated across 2 days, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It kind of like hearing you talk about it makes me wish that I had just gone down for the day to Coda. Like, it would have been a very long day because Coda's like almost 2 hours away. But like, maybe it would have been worth it to go, but it was just like, I just gotten back from California. I was leaving for California midway through the next week. I was like, this is just my weekend to be home and chill. And then, like, I just got back from California, and then not this weekend, but next week, I go away for like 2 weeks. So it's like I haven't had a ton of time at home. So, like, just taking that one weekend at home to me was like worth not going to a race weekend.
Yeah, I also think very different like time frames for us. If I had been going to a race right before and then basically right after, I feel like that's a different situation where it's like I'm tired and beat.
But I put myself in a situation with going to all 9 IMSA rounds that kind of makes it difficult to go to other races.
Yeah, whereas like I hadn't been to a race since the 12 hours.
Yeah.
So like, and I don't have really anything like planned in stone until Coda for WEC. So like I have a decent gap in between my races that like it made sense to go. And then also I've never seen Loke race, and Loke was gonna be there, so like I wanted to go for that. And Zach and Tom are in the series, and Colin's in the series. So like I had so many drivers that I support at this race that I was like, it just made sense to go even for just one day.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Orange Flag Pod. Nicole is at Nicole on Racing. Auston is at Auston Trackside. And Aries is at Aries_Alpenglow.
Stay orange.